Top of it, everybody. It's your boy Anthony. I am the owner and operator of Cultivating Konversations, where we cultivate and curate cultivating conversations. I wanted to let everybody know about a special person that we have with us today. She is doing dope things in the Metroplex and in the education system. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Dr. Benita Reed. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good.
I really appreciate this opportunity.
Listen, the pleasure is all mine. We are doing dope things in the kingdom, and we need to let people know about that as well. So before we get into it, we want to loosen the thing up just a little bit.
Okay, I can't take a shot at anything. But okay.
No, that is not. Come on now. Now we're above brow. We're above the belt here. But no, what I want to do is ask you a couple questions, and this segment is called Fun Facts Jack. Okay? Now, it's going to be 5 questions. This is how we determine if you're weird or not now. Hey, we want people voting. We want people voting and things and whatnot, but we go get it there and see what it is. Okay, so the first one is favorite hot food.
Oh my gosh. I want to say my favorite hot food is pasta. Is that a food?
Yeah, that's a food.
Okay.
Red sauce, what we talking about?
I like Alfredo sauce, cream sauce.
Okay. I like that too.
Cream sauces, yeah.
Sidebar, where you from?
I'm from Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas.
H-Town
Okay.
in the house.
Yeah, H-Town, baby. Okay.
Right.
Favorite cold food?
Oh, I should have said my favorite hot food was chocolate chip cookies, but my favorite cold
Come on now.
I love dessert. My favorite cold food would be, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think of food like hot and cold. I don't know.
QTNA questions that need answers. See? Gotta make her think. We gotta make her think.
I know you are making me think. My favorite cold food. I really like drinks. Like I love tea.
Okay, so hold on. That was the next one. So we'll come back to that. Be thinking.
Okay.
What's your favorite beverage? Doesn't matter if it's hot or cold, just favorite beverage.
It's a tea. I love hot
tea in general, hot teas. Okay.
Yes. Natural teas where you put the little syrup in there. I love all teas.
Natural tea where you put the syrup in it.
Yeah, like herbal teas.
But where does syrup come from?
Well, because you can do a shot of something like a flavor, like a mango flavor.
All right, I get that to you.
Cold and hot.
I don't know, y'all. Little syrup in it make it unnatural.
That's a good point.
I'm just saying.
I have to bring you some tea.
Yes, please do. Okay, favorite song.
Oh, Make It Last Forever.
Ooh, okay.
No. We just went to the concert.
Okay.
So I'm just shouting out Keith Sweat.
Okay. Now I ain't gonna lie.
That's my favorite song. Let me change that. My favorite song is my husband, our wedding song, which is by Luther Vandross. And he said, what's the name of the song? The world. This is
If This World Were Mine. Yeah.
That.
Hey, look, that reminds me of The Wood. Have you seen The Wood?
I have seen.
She said, "Not Luther." When that song came on, they was in that room.
You can quote all of the lines from all the characters.
That is one of my favorite movies.
Okay.
That is a bro. That's a bro thing. You know what I'm saying?
I believe it because I don't understand how he knows all of the lines of all of the characters.
You must say, okay. Another sidebar. You don't know. You ain't seen somebody quote movies until you see me quote the third Batman with Bane.
Yes.
Yeah. Why would you shoot the Batman before throwing him out of a plane? But anyway, favorite room in your house. Last one.
The bathroom.
The bathroom. All right, we gonna leave that right where it's at. Okay. So now let's get into it. Okay. Tell me about the inception of Benita Reed.
Oh.
The beginning. Like, just, you get what I'm saying? Like, where you started from. You said you're from Houston. Give me details into what that looked like.
Okay, so I'm from Houston, Texas. Grew up really in a small family that's embedded in the community. Parents, both educators. From a sports family. My brother and I both played sports. Really from a baseball family. He played, my dad was drafted but had to go into the Army, so he had to do that.
Wow.
My brother was drafted and went into play for the Oakland A's. And I played baseball.
Okay.
I didn't play softball. I played baseball with the boys and area park.
Okay.
At Yellowstone Park. Shout out to Yellowstone Park.
What position?
First base.
Okay.
Now, in my baseball career, I played every position except for catcher.
Bad on them old knees.
No, I guess my dad didn't want me because my daddy was my coach
Okay.
every year except for 1 year. And so I played basketball. So I'm from a sports family. So I am pretty competitive, and I think I have sports analogies when life gets tough, or I have analogies that my parents gave me or my brother. And a lot of times it was in the midst of something that was a trial, And so I grew up in Houston, Texas, went to public school.
Mm-hmm.
My parents taught public school, administrators in public school. Same thing with my brother. Went to Grambling State University, Texas Southern University, and came here. I came here in 98. Didn't meet my husband until after I had an opportunity to go through one relationship that did not succeed.
Understood.
Met my husband at Tarrant County College.
Okay.
I know.
I spent a little time over there. You know what I'm saying? One of them locations.
That's a good place to be.
Yeah.
But what I believe kind of really built me up is when my parents were educators. Their students came to our house.
Mm-hmm.
They were like a part of the community. They were a part of our community, our family. So it wasn't at the time where you had to think about insurance, like don't come to my house, you can't get in my car, and I can't drive. Nowadays, teachers have to think about that. You can't give students a ride.
Yeah.
If there's an accident, you could get sued. So my parents were like godparents to their children. They guided them through college.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually met two people here who said, I called your mom to tell her I went to college because she wanted me to go to college and not to the military. And she said, you answered the phone. You told me my mother passed away when I was younger. And 25. In my mind, I was young.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So just when I'm thinking I'm getting it together.
Absolutely.
And so I said, really? So, I mean, I grew up in a family that was just built around education and sports and just community service, to be honest.
And I'll tell y'all, she not playing about this sports thing. Went to go see my boy Jay. Shout out to Jay Reed. I went to go see him. We was watching some NCAA. The women was going at it. She was letting them know how she felt. You know what I'm saying? I was like, she really He's like, no, dog. She tell me to go get the popcorn. So that's dope though. Yeah. You didn't see that foul? Right. So that wasn't a travel? I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I get all passionate about it.
I love that though. I really do. Cause it also kind of shows that fire, that passion, where it comes from. Cause it translates, being competitive in sports. It kind of can let you, when life gets tough, it shows you like those analogies you were talking about. All those things apply. So sports are way more important than just winning and losing even. Absolutely. It's the lessons that you learn. So absolutely.
Shout out to my dad, of course, my first coach. But then I had Coach Bear at Jones High School. He's since passed, but he was the coach for football, but he coached girls varsity basketball. And he would push us.
Yeah.
And shout out to all of the people. Pumpkin is one of my best friends from high school. We still keep in contact. She was a off guard, shooting guard, and I was a point guard. And so we would go play with the boys. If we wanted to be better, we run around in the summertime and we go to different parks and play against the guys, and they always thought we weren't good until we got
until y'all got out there. Yeah. Shout out to Pumpkin, not Pumpkin. Black people are so funny to me. Not pumpkin, but pumpkin. But now, which that brings me to the next thing is I was going to also transition and say the inception of education, the love for it, where it's leading you to now. Like you obviously had educators for parents. So tell us about that.
Well, education was big in my family. And I love school. I still love school. I would probably take some classes, but not right now because my husband's probably like, no. But education was always big. It was enforced that we did well, did our best. I was not necessarily a math person, but I did my best.
Right.
So even now with our baby Faith, I'm like, baby, we just want you to do your best. And so we allow her to push herself. We give her the equipment, the tools that we have available, tutoring. We stay up with her and help her learn different skills. My husband is the math person. I'm more the English language arts science person, but
I'm with you on
we
that.
get all involved. So she loves slime, so I'm all involved in that. We get her slime kits. So we really try to build on whatever her interests are. Because I'm in English, that doesn't mean she wants to do a whole bunch of writing or whatever. And so that's what my parents did. So when they allowed me to just be who I was and filter in their influence in terms of not impeding my understanding of knowledge and exploring, then it just blossomed. I tell people this. at about 5 years old, I wanted a chalkboard. You know, we used to have chalkboards. Now we have, you know, dry eraser boards.
I miss chalkboards. I ain't gonna lie.
I do too. Well, not really. They make you kind of miss it. But anyway, I had a 2-sided chalkboard for Christmas. That was the best Christmas gift ever. And so I would teach my parents after they came home from work. I mean, literally, like, okay, so what is 5 times 5? What is this? And my parents would entertain me. They didn't seem bothered. I cannot remember a time where they seemed bothered. We went over my spelling words and all that. So that's, I think, what my thrive was. One of my classmates, who's he's a part of the police department in Houston, Stephen Jolivet, he said, you always want to be a teacher, but I didn't. I always wanted to be a lawyer.
I was going to ask you about that too.
Yeah, in my mind, I always wanted to be a lawyer, but I guess I talked about teaching. And then the irony is I told my dad I wanted to go to Florida A&M for the liberal arts program. And he told me I was going to Grambling. That's, you know, legacy.
Yeah.
And so that's where I went. But in my mind, I'm going to be a lawyer, and then maybe I'll teach. But I majored in English and with a minor in business. And when I got my master's and PhD in English. So.
Wow. Okay. So you filled in some of those blanks. It's interesting because what all that tells me is that influence matters. What you're exposed to at a very young age, even if it doesn't necessarily translate, like wanting to be a lawyer. I mean, it's still going to require a bunch of education, a bunch of, you know, furthering of knowledge. And so for you to go that path, I mean, most kids, I think back to when I was young, I'm like, I think I said the prototypical firefighter, policeman, like, yeah, because that's what I think, you know, it's like, you know, you do cops and robbers, you do, yeah. So it's like, that's what you kind of think is what you do until you get exposed to life.
That's true.
And so it's kind of dope to hear also that there was a certain level of more than just a job to what they did.
Oh, yes.
Because that's what affects people. Like the teacher that was able to take a kid home that was left, you know, that the parents had something going on or they were late, but it wasn't, you know, but it was all on the up and up. Like those are the people that affect lives. That's and so I do appreciate that, you know. Talk to me about that process of getting a doctorate. That seems like the most daunting thing ever. And I'll just tell you I got a bachelor's.
Okay.
And then
that's not a little thing. Let's keep in mind, I work at Tarrant County College. I'm a full professor there, which means I had to go get more education in order to reach that goal. I'm a tenure professor, which means I had to do certain things, classes, community service, committees, things like that. But you want to do it because it's all in the arena that you thrive in. So nowadays, the statistics is that it takes students 6 years to get a 2-year degree. And you know why? Because our culture is different. Students are working. They have full-time jobs, not part-time. I asked my students on Thursday, how many of you all work? All but 2 students in a 22 student classroom said, I work. Full-time, so they're getting benefits. They have bills like car notes, insurance notes. So they have duties and responsibilities outside of what we did. Well, maybe me. I may be a little bit older than you. Just a little bit.
Bitch.
So when I was in school, I was just in school. My parents were like, this is your job. You are to make A's and B's. You want to do well.
Yes.
And then I got a job on campus because, you know, it was a great opportunity. But my mother was like, that's not why you went to college. You went to college to get a degree, to get your education, to network, meet new people, lifelong friends. They are working full time, so they're exceptional. Students nowadays are doing what we're doing now as adults. They literally are having full-time jobs, duties, responsibilities, and they're doing it, but it's taking them longer to get out of school. So I just tell them, I really kind of mentor students to follow not the academic year, but the calendar year from January to December. And that's how I was able to successfully complete my degree. Took me 8 years because you were asking me about my degree. It took me 8 years. It took me 8 years because in the midst of that time, we had faith.
Okay.
And right at that time, right before having faith, we had my dad come up from Houston. And so he was just completing treatment. And my husband and I were on the same page praying about, should we bring my dad up, which I'm grateful for because my husband treated my dad like that was his daddy. He didn't see it as his father-in-law. So he was like, I was thinking, you know, maybe we should bring daddy up. And I said, I was just praying about that, driving to Houston.
Wow.
So I was grateful for that. I had to bring him up that time.
Yeah.
That trip, literally. My husband had to fly down, drive us back. We had to pack some of his things, and he was here with us. So we had to manage our lives a bit differently from just a couple.
Mm-hmm.
We had a couple. It was a couple of people who had been married about 6-7 years, having their first child,
Mm-hmm.
and now you're having to be caregivers
Yeah.
of a parent,
Yeah.
And so my husband was in school. So I decided, I said, babe, you go ahead and you get your master's, and I'm going to take one class a semester. Best thing I could have ever done.
Wow.
So that's why I teach students, let's look at the calendar year. So when my friends, my peers at TCC or just wherever they are, they were taking 6 hours per semester and taking off in the summer. I didn't do that. I took one class each session that it was offered.
Yes.
And usually I earned about 18 to 21 hours in a school, in a calendar year.
Wow.
So I just stayed fresh. It
Yeah.
didn't overwhelm me because I couldn't. We were in and out of the hospital sometimes with my dad. We were in rehab centers, and my husband and I would offset our work so that we could be available for Faith and my daddy.
I would say, first of all, I do give you credit and commend you for the selflessness to share that opportunity with your husband, because, hey, listen, I'll be honest, and nobody's perfect. I know everybody got their things, but a lot of time in marriage, those type of things can make or break you because one spouse may be on board and the other one is not, and caring for somebody who may need that if it's a parent or a relative. And even with the education, everybody is just like focused on themselves. So for you to take that approach, I do commend you for that if nobody's ever done that. I would also like to get into faith.
Well, let me say something right quick.
Oh, go ahead.
When you're married, you're one. And so it's not just my goals and aspirations. When we married, if I can be really, really honest with you, I didn't say I wanted to run for school board. I didn't know that I wanted to. This opportunity came about.
Mm-hmm.
But when we say I do, that means I do what you do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do it together. We're not going to do it separately. I'm going to be the biggest cheerleader. I'm going to be behind closed doors. Like, babe, you could do this a little bit better. Or let's do this. I try to present things in a positive way to ensure that my husband knows I support him 150%. He does the same thing for me. We don't know. I just told someone, I told you I was just talking to a brother on the phone about marriage. And I said, you don't know what you're going to have to do in your marriage.
Right.
You really don't. When you say I do, so we may have to take care of my mother-in-law, father-in-law, or his grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in it. I do.
Yeah.
If that's going to make our lives better, if that's going to make our marriage better, you make adjustments because of the I do.
Right.
You don't avoid what goes along with the I do. And God provides all that you need. So he provides everything, all the gaps, all the questions you have about how are we going to do this. If you're doing what's in line with his will, he will provide all of that.
Okay, you see she's trying to take me there a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just trying to take you.
Yeah, because I'm just finna get into the faith aspect too now, because I do think that you need people who have a certain set of standards, a certain level of morality when you get into this marketplace that we live in or work in, exist in, because it's necessary and there's a lot of weird stuff that happens. How has that kind of been your anchor going through something like caring for, a parent, losing it like at 25 or 7 years ago? How has that held you even in getting into, which we're going to get to, the office you're running for and things of that nature? How has that helped you and held you down to help catapult you to whatever phase of life that you were going through or in?
My faith?
Yes.
My faith is everything. I one of the ladies who's supporting our team, because this is our thing. This is a we thing that we are running for. It's not just Benita Reed, because it's not about me. This is bigger than me. This is about the students. This is about their families. This is about their futures. Mm-hmm. So she's going through something with her husband. And she said, I don't know how people do it without faith. I cannot tell you. It sounds like, it's going to be this big grandiose story. And it really is if we break it down and dissect it. But I can do nothing without Christ. I don't even attempt to. I don't want to ever be without his presence, without his power, without his permission to do what I do. I don't want to be without his permission to be the wife that I am, the mother that I am. I am nothing without him setting the steps,
Ordering the steps, yes.
Ordering the steps, or the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. So I could not do any of this. I would be outside of myself, knowing that my mother passed when I was 25. My father came up here with us, and there were great times, but he was often in the hospital rehab. My husband was such an anchor. There were times when I saw my husband pick my father up, and my father's really taller than my husband, but pick him up. Mm-hmm. So to have someone who's in it for life, for real,
wow,
that, it humbles me, because that was one of my prayers. Lord, let my husband be like a son to my father. And then I lost my brother, 10 years after I lost my mother. And he was very, very young. He was a Houston police officer. And so I wouldn't be able to make it. My mind would not be right. But because our family is rooted, my family, my parents, my brother, rooted in the Word of God, and our faith is strong. Even my brother, 2 weeks before, he said, if you can't call me, you can call on that man. I was like, what man? By this time, I know what, because he'd call me and say, did I tell you about that man? And the first time he said that, I was like, what man? Jesus Christ. So he was preaching to me
yeah,
all of this time, preparing me, but I didn't know it. So my faith is all that I have, and everything else above and beyond is built on that.
Okay. Now, so let me let you give whatever you would consider to be, because I want you to approach this as if I have no clue about any offices or any seats, or like, you get what I'm saying? Yeah. Because one of the things that I do want to touch on and speak from is the millennial standpoint of, I don't want to vote for nothing because I don't trust or believe what people say anymore.
Really?
Yes.
Do you feel like that, or millennial?
Yes, I do. I believe. Yes, I am. What you trying to say? Oh, you're a millennial.
I must be a millennial too.
Well, yes, because you got to think. I was thinking about this yesterday while I was out. You got to think, when I was in grade school, this is when the Bush, I think, was running against, I forgot who it was. It was the son, though, the first term. And I remember voting for whoever the other guy was, Gore, McCain, whoever it was, purely off of what my teacher's influence was and what I heard in my household negatively against Bush.
Really?
And I think it's a slanted thing. And so I want you to kind of, well, first of all, let us know what this all is for you, what seat, everything, and then kind of address, what would you say to people who have that certain standpoint about politics, voting, all those things?
Well, I'm running for Mansfield Independent School District School Board Trustee, Place 6. It is an at-large position, which means it's not a district position. There's no parameter around where I will be of service to the students and educators and the parents. There is none. It's all nearly 95 square miles. All of the positions are at large. It's just a particular place, if you will. Mm-hmm. Okay? So, School Board Trustee, Place 6, vote Benita Reed. Yes. April 24th through May 2nd and May 6th. Yes.
Say that one more time.
April 24th through May 2nd, and May 6th is Election Day. Vote Benita Reed for School Board Trustee, Place 6. Okay. Now, so what you're saying is not uncommon. I'm aware that teachers, people who are in our particular spectrum or hemisphere, meaning students who go to school, so you're listening to what teachers are saying. Mm-hmm. In your home, you live with your parents or your relatives, and you listen to what they're saying. Amongst your friends, if you have, like, I'm a news buff. My baby's likely to be a news buff because I have her watching the news. So she's likely to go to school and say, hey, did you know this? So when you're watching, you go and you tell your friends, did you know this? So you are aware of what's going on based on your environment. So I'm aware of that. So young people, I would suggest that you vote for someone like me, Benita Reed, for School Board Trustee, Place 6, who is aware of what's going on. Now, what does that mean? I am a teacher at Tarrant County College. I've been in education for over 30 years. So I know that atmosphere. I know that realm. And I've just been fortunate to be in education for over 30 years in different capacities. I was sharing this with someone last night. Some of it I was just like, oh, really? You want me to do that? Okay. You know, when you're young, like, oh, I'm just having so much fun.
Right.
So when I started at Texas Southern University while I was working on my master's. And then I had an opportunity to teach students who needed a bit more boost, developmental English. And I just loved it. Yeah. You know, I worked with them in different areas. We were in testing. We worked in. So you just love it. I know the education realm because I've been fortunate enough to be in it. So you want to vote for someone who is in that field. I'm not a politician, but I have come to know that this is a political arena.
Yes.
Okay. So what should you vote for? You should vote for someone who has experience, knowledge, understanding, and skills in that area. That would be me. Now, what does that mean? For me, right now, I don't think anyone can say without a clear conscience that safety and security is not the number one thing for our students.
Absolutely.
Not just the students, but those who are on the campuses. We just saw last week where the young lady went into a Christian school and she killed 6 people, 3 9-year-olds and 3 persons who were working there. Here in our area, in Arlington ISD at Lamar High School, unfortunately, I mean, the tendency that's unfortunate. Here, a young man was killed.
Right.
And another young lady was severely injured. Then we had a series of things in Mansfield ISD that happened that we consider like cyber attacks over, I don't know if you know about this, where they were airdropping threats. And then over 700 students didn't go to school the next day.
Wow.
So what is the number one thing that I'm concerned about? Safety and security. Now, the great thing about being in safety, that it's safety and security, is that my husband is in that area. We have a business, a security business, but he's been in safety and security as an officer in different capacities for 30 years this year. But beyond that, I've asked other officers and other people in this arena, what should we be doing? So I don't just rely on my husband, but I'm going out and I'm researching and I'm finding out what do we need to do. Well, what I've noticed, we do have a police officer on every campus. That's great. Apparently we have, I didn't know this up until a week ago, we have plexiglass. So if someone were to shoot, and I'm saying this because a young lady went in and she shot the glass out in Tennessee. And I thought, why is it glass?
Right.
But you don't think, up until about 15 years ago, churches and schools were the safest place to be.
Right.
You did not think anybody would come in to harm anybody at the school. We're doing good things at the schools. We're doing good things at the churches. We're praising God. At the schools, we're teaching kids. We're here because we want to be here. The kids are here because they want to be here. You did not have to prepare for placing barriers. Like we talked about putting barriers outside, outside the parking lot. So if you're intended to come in, not you, but someone is intended to do harm, you can't just get in. You need to call someone ahead of time. So maybe some things like that. Plexiglass, I do know that we have plexiglass now in MISD, but I think all schools need to have them. An additional security person. So we have an MISD officer, but what about a security officer on site? So you have 2 people who are alerted. One person is looking at all the cameras around the perimeter of the institution, and then that person can say, hey, let me call the police.
Right.
So we can get someone, because emergency services get there within, we at MISD, 2.5, 3 minutes, which is great. But if you don't know that there's a threat,
right,
what can you do? More screenings for threat. I just realized, doing some research, that our state legislator is now joining school safety with mental health. So we are finally saying that something is going on.
Something more to it.
There's more to it. So with the young lady in Tennessee, they said that she had just gotten on new medication. She had a therapist. There was something going on with her mentally. So there is a connection. And some of these bills have gone to the committees, and they're not on the House floor yet. But there are some things that we can do, but we need to put the people in the places. Right now, we only have one counselor per feeder pattern. That's not enough. And every parent, I told them last week.
What's a feeder pattern?
A feeder pattern is all the schools in that particular area. So that is likely to be about 4 or 5 different schools. And in MISD, we're overpopulated in some areas. And we know that. And we're working on that, but it takes time to do that. Mm-hmm. So if you have 4 or 5 schools, one counselor, and these counselors really want to help our students.
Yeah.
I talked to one last year. She said, I really want to help, but it's just so much. I can't get to everybody. I suggested, let's go to UTA, TCU, Texas Wesleyan, UNT. Let's get students who are doing their counseling practicum, and let's hire them, or let's get them to do their practicum, because that's a part of their degree plan.
Right.
So they're not hired. And essentially what we're doing, I don't want to say we're getting free work, free labor, because that's not really it. They're really doing their practicum.
Right.
So they're seeing students. They're in the field. And so they're getting firsthand work, practice, services. They're giving our students services, and that will help them. And our counselors now could mentor them, because that's what they're doing anyway when they get when they have to do their practicum hours. If we were to do that, we would have, I think, at least 10 students. If we even took those from UTA, we need to do something, because our kids need the help.
Absolutely.
You know, even if it's just going to talk to someone. So you want someone, to answer your original question, you want someone who understands how the system of education works. Now, I've never been on a school board. I would be working with a team of 6 other people. So I look forward to working with them to make these decisions. I'm just proposing.
Right.
This seems to be a likely solution, to have counselors, because the students have to do their practicum somewhere. We could create an articulation agreement with these area universities, and that's an easy fix for me. Now, the particulars have to be worked out, but we can do that as a team. I want to work with a team of school board members who are already there. They have more experience, but then I would bring to that particular school board the education perspective. I would look from an educator's perspective. I would look from a parent's perspective. I would not want to go to faith school and have to wait to see, like we had to do a year ago at Timberview, for them to bring my baby out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not, one child is too many.
Yeah.
When we drop our kids off, I'm expecting to go back and get my baby. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's devastating to even think about. When we were in school, the most threat was a fight after school.
Right.
Then you just go the other way. Meet me on the playground. No, I'm going the other way. To avoid the fight. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, it's just not like that. And most of the kids just want to get their education. It's someone like this lady. She used to go to school, but she was an intruder then. All the kids on campus are there because they want to be. So safety and security is my number one thing. Accountability and transparency, which is what we're talking about now. We have to be accountable for these babies, what they're learning. You know, there is no way that we can, as a community, help our kids without being a community. Which means you can't say that's your business. That's your problem if your child needs some help. No, your child is with me about 8 hours a day. It's our business. It's our concern. Don't you know those teachers are concerned about those kids? They don't know what they're going to be met with when they go into school each day. But they're up for the challenge, and they want to help the kids. So we need to bring the resources necessary to ensure that they're mentally, emotionally well. The teachers are as well. They're burnt out, so that's a part of my platform, the accountability and transparency. We know our teachers are burnt out. They need more help. Let's develop some teachers' aid pools where you get a pool of teachers. We can go back to the universities and let those students who are in the area of education, and they have to do student teaching. Come on, we need you.
But the only thing, though, and I do agree, there's a lot of teacher burnout. There was always, even 20 years ago, 30, however long ago, there was always the one or two that stuck out clearly. Yes. That it's like, no, it's something different. You're special to you. But then there's also this thing where money is clearly an issue. And I know some of these things, you know, it's only so much you can actually do. You know, it's
saying money.
Money is, I'm saying, you're going to have the people who, like, I'm going to be honest. I have a lot of people who I follow on social media who are teachers. All they do is complain. All I do is see them talk about how they're waiting for the next vacation. Then when they come off the vacation, they're talking about how they want to go back on vacation. They can't wait for Friday. I'm like, why would I want to be a teacher? Like, and by the way, I spent a year teaching.
You subbed for a year.
I didn't sub, but it was like I prepared them for like the tax or the TAS test or whatever it was at that time, whatever one it was. And I mean, I was at a what do they call it? A level 1 or what is it? Title 1 school. So all the kids was bad. I'm sorry. I love y'all, but y'all kids is bad.
Kids are not bad at Title
Listen,
1.
you going for the trustee position. I ain't. Y'all kids is bad, and they was tall, and they was threatening me.
You said they were tall, so they were taller than you,
or my height, and they was like threatening me.
So what do we need?
Oh, I'm fine, because I was just gonna punch one of them in the throat.
You can't do that.
Oh, yes, I can. Once again, I'm not going for no boys. I'm not sitting on nothing. I was gonna put them in their place now, but no, I'm just kidding, kind of.
All of those people, if you see him come,
I did have a kid when I was in high school. It might have been middle school. It was middle school. I ain't gonna say his name. This kid thought he was gonna play tough, and this teacher punched him in his chest and gladly got fired. No, you ain't. Hey, listen, I'm just saying you can't play with everybody now. But anyway.
Okay, teachers, we are not doing this.
Yeah, I'm not saying teachers put hands. Yes. I'm just saying don't try us either.
So you're saying that teachers, that your friends who are teachers, I need their names and numbers because I have a teacher group.
Oh, someone go to the church. I definitely connect you.
Oh, yeah, and we need that. And the reason is like, so we need to develop a culture where teachers are excited to come to school.
I agree.
We need to make it comfortable. I was talking to one of my teacher friends, and I said, what do we need? Because even though I'm in education, I never think I know everything. I don't know everything. That's the great thing about being on the board. I work with a team. In education, you always work with a team. People think you're on an island. No. In education, you always work with a team of people. You hold each other accountable. You helping each other. Hey, this material worked. This worked well with my students. Try this method. So this is what, even though I research and I know what works for me, I go out and ask people what's going to help. So one thing someone said was cultivate an environment where they want to come. They're excited. Make it difficult for them to leave. No, I don't want to leave my school. You know, even if they're going to get their principal certification, they want to leave. They want to get it and come back and work there. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Make it hard. How do we do that? Give them some aids. I mean, that's why I said a teacher pool where you have aides who are working on their degree or who decided, I have a 2-year degree, but I can work as a teacher's aide. I have the patience, I have the skills, I have the fortitude, I want to help. Even if we shared, so if those of us in this room had your math, science, English, and we had 2 other people, because this is about 5 people on your team, then if we had on our team 2 aides to help us who would rotate, that would make things easier for us. I would have more planning time. My mind would be fresher. My creativity would be out of the roof. That's what we need. So teachers are bogged down with a lot of work. I understand that.
And ratios are crazy.
And the ratios, we would love for it to be, 15 to 1 teacher. That would be ideal. But we need more teachers.
Absolutely.
So if we cultivate an environment where they're going, like at Faith School, that her PTA, I'm a part of the PTA, but I don't necessarily go in the morning time all the time. But the people who are on the PTA go in the morning, they have muffins and things. That makes it easy.
Absolutely.
I don't have to stop and get anything. And a muffin is healthier than getting some fast food. You understand what I'm saying? Make it easy. When I was teaching at Owsley in Arlington, they'd have little messages. I know it seems simple, but little messages with candy. Hey, we appreciate you. We love you. You're sweet. You're the sweetest teacher ever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, all of that stuff makes a difference. It really does.
But if they have more resources, so we have to have. So what if you have a student who is like last semester? I had a hearing impaired student. I had to have a resource in there. There was a translator. If it were up to me, that student would have been underserved. Now, I'm not saying MISD is doing this, but I'm talking about the different resources we need. I had to answer a questionnaire this past week, and one was about what are we going to do for our students? Well, students have different needs. So students who are English learners, who their first language is Spanish or Vietnamese, then they may need a translator, or we need some type of platforms that will translate the information for them. I guarantee you they'll do better on the TEKS, which is the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. That's our curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you they'll do better on the STAR test, our assessment.
So my question is, because, this is in part to get people to see, I never want to just focus on one thing. I don't want to just focus on the educator. I want to focus on the person. I want to focus on all of those different things, right? Mm-hmm. And give people a more broad spectrum of who Dr. Benita is, right?
Yes.
What do you do for the voter? Because we're talking about education, we're talking about parents, we're talking about children. And the thing that pulls a lot of people away from caring about voting, caring about, looking out for people in any regards, whether it's put people in position, is they don't do what they say they're going to do.
Right.
Or it's like, I think about, if we go biblical, I think about a Daniel. I think about a Joseph. I think about Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. I think about them not being impacted by culture, but very much being a part of it, being trained up, being trained up even through the culture to execute, but still having a certain level of values or views that they held true to. How do you keep those 5 individuals that I'm speaking of, those value systems, those approaches to who you are as a person and in your faith, but then going into the educational system, going into a culture that may be counter to what you believe, and doing what you need to do for the kids and parents by and large?
That's a great question. You would ask the hard questions, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely.
So because my faith is important, I know it's bigger than me. It's not just, for this time, I am doing what God has called me to do. But he's not just called me to do it alone. I'm one vote on a board of 7, including me.
Mm-hmm.
So what can I do? What I can do is, number one, I like meeting people in smaller areas at a coffee shop. I like if we hosted something here, 10 or 12 people.
We could do that.
I find out. Thank you. We'll talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I find I'm more effective that way because I can take down your name and number and say, what is it that you want to see? I was in the hair salon yesterday, one-on-one. I said, what is it that concerns you? Her child goes to Timberview.
Mm-hmm.
So she told me about safety and security. Again, at Timberview, still now, even though we've had that incident.
Mm-hmm.
So small settings work best for me because I can take down your name and number and follow up with you. So I can keep my word. Before it was God, it was his word.
Mm-hmm.
The word was God. So I can keep my word because I'm only as good as my word to you. I can also come back and say, okay, Anthony, I need you to come and support what we're doing. Come to a meeting. I'm not saying come to all of the meetings, but come to a meeting every 2 or 3 months. Come to a community conversation.
I was often say what meetings?
School board meetings.
Okay.
We have community conversations or more intimate settings where you have 3 school board members, and a lot of times it's 3 school board members and a superintendent or a deputy superintendent.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's at the area schools. And what MISD does is a great job of moving around the 94 square miles. So if you're in this area, then you'd come to this particular T.A. Howard. If you're in another area, then let's go to Danny Jones. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you get the different pools of parents. That's what I mean about meeting people in Arlington. I'd love to go to our sister Charlitra's Cup of Vibes. Let's meet there and let's talk.
Great place, by the way.
It is a great place.
What is that tea I be getting? I'm sorry, I'm going to get off track, but
so you do drink tea?
Oh, yeah, I do, but you just told me natural. Then you said, well, if you put a couple pumps of this syrup in there. All right, I overdid you over the pumps. But okay.
So keeping my word.
Right.
So, of course, prayer is most important. So what's significant, even if we don't see it, God gives me foresight.
Yes.
And then I can bring that to team members on the board. Okay. And then also identify it in the natural. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Show that there is a natural concern. The other thing is, because you cannot do it alone. I want people
Right.
to understand that even with the team of us on the board, we cannot do this to help our students and our teachers and our parents alone. We got to have the parents coming back, getting involved. That's another part of my platform is family involvement. And I said family, even though parental is most likely what we hear.
Right.
But when my dad was here, do you know he went to Faith's school programs? They have Grandparents' Day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so multi-level families are involved. So you have to get entrenched. So how am I going to be impactful? Because in my mind, that's what Christ wants us to be, is to be impactful. Not the Benita Reed show. It's the MISD students, educator show.
Mm-hmm.
How do I do that? I show up when it's unexpected, but I announce that I'm there because you can't just show up. But I show up and say, hey, what can I do? What do you need? And then I can go back and say, they really need these resources.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not hiding. I'm out, like you said, out amongst the people, finding out what's necessary to make certain that we bring the best practices to get the best results for our students. So that's what I would do.
So what I kind of hear is there's a checks and balance to
Absolutely.
the approach, meaning, okay, you put me in office, you put me on the board,
Yes.
and I keep saying office, but I get it. You know, you put me on the board. There are certain things that I'm required to do, but parents, you have to be involved. You have to show up. You have to come to the what did you call it again? The
The
community
school board meetings, the community conversations.
the community conversations.
We even have safety and security small meetings.
So you can't, because what happens a lot of times with voters in general on all levels
I know what you're about to
is
say.
they put a bunch
You're
of
supposed to do this.
yes, and but then they don't also do anything either though. It's
but
you can't
I'm
just
going back.
you can't just say what you want. No, and
Right.
voters are quick to say what they demand, but it's like, yeah, but did you even call the people if it's you dealing with potholes or
Right.
whatever?
Did you send an email?
You didn't do anything but complain about it.
Right.
So then you show up every 2 to 4 years wanting to get somebody out of there. No. Did you go meet with the person? All of those things is so important. So don't just sit back and expect something. Everybody needs to play their part.
Absolutely.
So I do think that is very, very important.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to stay involved. There's some things that I do with nonprofits and some charitable things that I do where you will see me out on the PTA. I'm going to stay on the PTA. My husband and I both very active. We eat with Faith at least once or twice a week, just so they see us, but also so Faith knows she has a support system. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to stay out in the community in order to impact it. You cannot be, and I think that's what all the board members do. But what am I going to, there is a checks and balances. I can't do it by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I vote for something, I can't vote alone. I can't say, this is what I want, and everybody else says no. We have to come together, have to give them documentation to verify everything. So I have to be prepared. What I'm doing now is what I expect to do. I told some when I was canvassing in a neighborhood in Grand Prairie, I said, I'm going to come back, and I'm going to ask you all to come to the board meetings. You know what the parents said? Come back.
Mm-hmm.
We will come. And they say, if y'all tell us, and we do have text messaging system, I know that, but sometimes we have to go knock on doors and say, hey, we need you to come. I need you to come and see what's going on. And not when it's bad. I need you to come and see when the kids are getting awarded. I need you to come and say, we need to vote on this. What if we do want to get the legislator to give us more funds? Mm-hmm. Come and let's see how we can do it. Can we petition? Mm-hmm. Can we go down to Austin and see if we can? That's what I'm talking about. So what I'm doing now is what I plan to continue, what I am going to do. I'm not just planning. I'm going to do. I'm going to knock on those doors. I need you to come to school board meeting.
Yeah. The thing that is so important is that in today's day and age, all you had to do was present a certain way. Like, you know, back in the day, it's like most people wouldn't talk about being divorced before or, you know, the issues that they dealt with in their past or their child. It was like everything was just presented a certain way to make you look the best. I think we're at a place now, or I know we're at a place now where that stuff just doesn't work anymore.
It doesn't matter.
You're going to, it's like nobody wants the perfection. But then you're a horrible individual, or you get in there and you just do whatever. It's time out for that. Right. So my question would be, we know over 30 years of education. We know husband. We know you got the daughter. We know you, but what is, and from what I heard you say earlier, are you saying there's 6 other people that are vying for the same spot, or that?
No, my place is place 6. I do have an opponent.
Okay.
But my particular place is place 6. So
okay.
There are 7 of us on the school board, and then we work with the superintendent.
Okay,
so we
I
call
got
it
you.
A team of 8. You'll see it on the website, a team of 8. So there are 2 places that are up now, place 6 and place 7. Courtney Lackey Wilson is in place 7, and she doesn't have an opponent. So
okay,
she's essentially won.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my thing that I was going to ask is, given all the things that we know and we've heard today, what is the other thing, the thing that we haven't talked about that's going to separate you from your opponent? That, I don't know, I want it to be something that you really think about and tell us, what's this thing that's separate? No, but it's necessary because, I mean, listen, I'm not here to make you look a certain way or anything like that. I know you're very well studied and prepared in general, but I think people do appreciate this aspect of it too, where it's like everything's not plot and planned and, well, just ask me this way. Cause it's like, I'm not going to make you look bad. I promise you I'm not, but I do want people to understand that you are a human being too at the end of the day.
Right.
And you are processing and filtering, and it's as it's coming to you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I do think that's important. But what is another thing that, this outside thing that maybe it's something that you can bring, or that gives you another edge outside of the sports? Like, what is that thing that is going to make Dr. Benita Reed the best candidate to sit on that board?
Let me see. You're making it hard for me.
Just a little bit. I got to now. Now, I love her. I support her.
Yeah, you say you love her.
I do.
Right now.
I do. Look, and if all else fails, y'all probably never see this on the light of day if I need to. But no, I do think it's important though.
I want to say, okay, so, what sets me apart from my opponent, or what just sets me apart?
Yeah. It could be either or.
But
yes.
Everything. Okay.
Yes.
I would say that, and most people don't know this, that I've lost 2 students while I've been in the education field.
Wow.
One of them, you're trying to make me cry too, huh?
Nah.
One of them was a young lady who graduated from Yates High School, right across the street from Texas Southern. Freshman.
Houston Yates.
I went to Houston Jones, by the way, just FYI. But they're rivalries. But she went to Houston Yates, right across the street from Texas Southern. Composition 1, young lady. Had a young son, about a year. I believe it was a year at the time. And she had come in my classroom, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and she was like, Mr. Reed, most people don't know that my husband and I have the same last name, so that's FYI. Mr. Reed, I want you to mentor me. And I said, okay. And I said, started talking. I said, well, where'd you graduate? Where'd you go to school? Because I think she was 19, not 18, because she had just had a son and stayed out for a year or whatever. She told me, and we were getting together. Okay, let's set up a schedule. Okay, I want you to come to my office. Didn't see her for about a couple of weeks, which was odd because she was in school in my class every day. And then she had a fiance who had come and said, had you seen her? Hadn't seen her. What we looking for? What do you mean you're looking for? Wow. So I was a part of the search party. Needless to say, it's hard to say there was a huge misunderstanding between her and a previous young man that she'd been in a relationship with, but that resulted in her death. But I was a part of the search party. So when I say that education is my life's mission, I really mean that. When I say that education can save children's lives, it can. She was in the right place. I feel like I didn't get to her in time. We had an appointment the next week. She never showed up. That's one student. There's another student and she's an African-American young lady because I've taught all demographics. I taught part-time at San Jacinto College, heavily populated with Hispanic or Spaniard, Latina. a young man who was very popular, excellent in soccer, at a club, just having fun with his friends, accidentally stepping on somebody's toe and say, hey, man, from what his friends told me, hey, bro, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. They get into a scuffle, and then there's a drive-by shooting. Great kid, very respectful to me, playful with his friends. So why am I telling you that? That sets me apart because had we had an opportunity, in my mind, had I had an opportunity to talk with that young man, and you can't keep people from living.
Right. Absolutely.
But in my mind, what could I have said that could have directed him in a different way? What could have I said? Maybe I could have met with her that day. So what I do now with students, I say, I'd love to mentor you. Let's come by and set an appointment now. So I make it immediate. Sometimes change cannot wait. When you identify that there is a problem, you have to start working on that solution then. And so what sets me apart is, yes, I am in this field, but I realize that even if we can't make the exact change, we can start on it then. We can communicate, we're in the process of doing this. What can we do in a preliminary aspect? And then what can we do long term? You can't sit on problems.
Right.
They only get worse. That's in life, in marriage, which is what we were talking about at first. That's in every field of every profession. If you sit on it, it festers.
Absolutely.
It gets worse. If you don't sit on it, you start doing something about it, intrinsically, it gets better because you have inflicted what is good within it, and it can no longer travel the same pathway. So I think what sets me apart from that is that I've seen how lives can be changed in a good way and in a bad way.
Absolutely.
I want to be a part of the solution. In my mind, I have solutions to different problems because you think that way when you're in education and you don't have a lot of time to think about it. You have to think sometimes on spot, like you just asked me this question. You have to think very quickly. And so you have to come up with a solution, whether it's temporary or long-term, but at least do something now, and let's revisit in a day or two. I think that's what sets me apart.
Absolutely. That's great. I love that. See, I'm now take it back. You thought I was trying to set you up in a bad way. No, but that does make me think about, what the Bible says, don't put off tomorrow what you could do today.
Absolutely.
It's so important, man. People that waited or, took the wrong advice, or it's like, man, we
always think we have tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely.
Don't put off saying I'm sorry.
Yes.
Don't put off forgiving. Don't put those things off. You have to forgive. I'm learning in this race, in this lane that I've been in for a couple of years now, that you can have differences and still love. Love covers a multitude of sins. Love abounds. That is true. I believe that wholeheartedly.
Yes.
I can still have a difference with you and still love you. And I'm hoping somebody will feel that way about me, but I know that may not be the case.
Right.
But we have to set aside differences so that love abounds. You understand? Because love gives you a different way of looking at things. Love gives you a community of things. Love says, okay, we have this difference, but what is it? What's the one thing we both want? So you set aside what's different and you aim at what's more like. What is going to get you not just the job done, but what's going to get the mission done. Because sometimes what the enemy does is identifies all the differences. Makes them glaring. It's like red flashing lights. This is what's so different. This is why you can't communicate. This is why you can't get along. This is why you're having trouble. And so you focus on this is why. I just told a brother on my way here, I said the enemy is always going to pinpoint something to you. Do not spend time talking and entertaining the enemy. Speak the word like Jesus did and move on to what you need to do. So I'm not focusing on differences with people. But what's the one thing that we care about in education? We care that our children are safe. We care that our children have the best education and have the best opportunity for their next steps. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What do we care about in marriage? With your wife, what do you care about? What do I care about my husband? I want my husband to be safe and whole and happy and know that he is loved beyond a shadow of a doubt. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So whatever differences we have, they're our differences. His difference is my difference, even if I don't understand it. My difference is his difference. We come together as one, and we don't give the enemy a foothold.
Absolutely.
And that's what we should do. I'm mentioning that heavily because in MISD, we do pray. Mm. And I love that about our district. We would say, district, we will pray in Jesus' name. Mm-hmm. God, our Father. I love that because some districts don't do that. So I know that I am a Christian, but we have at the forefront Christ.
Yes.
So if we let love abound, the differences will be hashed out. God will hash those things out. Mm-hmm. Now, don't let me start preaching to you about being married and stuff.
She bring that up, and then look now at this present day, you know, that's hold on. At this present day, you know, this is where, you know, he's down at the bowels of hell 2,000 years ago, preaching to those who didn't get to see him. You understand me? But you know, Resurrection Sunday is tomorrow. So to wrap this up, you know, I do appreciate you for coming. It has definitely been insightful. It's been a blessing. I appreciate it. I was nervous. I really was. Even though, listen, this is something that I believe that I actually am very skilled at, and, you know, all of that, but it's like to execute it, you know, you're an important person too. You know what I'm saying? And so you're
important too. I mean, I'm watching you. I've been seeing you flex. I know the words. I know the lingo. I see you doing your thing.
Well, you might be allowed on the flex, but it's all right. We're gonna let that go. But no, I want to ask you something. It's something that I thought about. It's a way to close it out before you also tell people where they can support, yes. And also plug, you know, where they can vote and all those things again. But the question is, what is something that you could tell people? It's twofold. What is something that you could tell somebody to provoke them to action right now? Then I want you to go and tell what's something that could provoke them to stop, to quit. And let me tell you the background before you get the answer. Okay. There's somebody who was waiting for the go. They were waiting for a sign. They were waiting for a message. And we're presupposing that you're the person that has the word to give them. There's somebody that is also on the opposite, something that may be killing them. Something may be holding them back, and they just need to walk away and say no. What is the thought process that you, or the message that you would give that person in both those scenarios?
To get somebody to go is bigger than you. Do it for someone else, even if you won't do it for yourself. Because sometimes we don't see ourselves as valuable,
right?
Though Christ does. He takes his time to etch us, create us. We're wonderfully, mysteriously made. Mm-hmm. That's no lie. He spent time with us before.
Absolutely.
Intimate time, so he knows us. Do it for someone else now, and then maybe you will see that you are of value. Mm-hmm. And then for the person who's doing something, do it for someone else. Not for somebody else.
Yeah.
Stop doing it for your child. I can't tell you how many times I learned from my baby Faith. Mm-hmm. She'll say something. Well, Mommy, you said, and it's like, okay, I did say that. So I'm not exempt. I did say, do it scared. Because I tell her that, well, I'm scared. I said, do it scared. So your fear, even if you're scared, that doesn't mean it outweighs your faith. We do plenty of things afraid, but our faith is much larger. So our faith smothers the fear. As we keep taking the steps up, we take more steps up or more steps forward. The fear is drowned out. So do it for somebody else if you can't see it doing for yourself. If you don't care about yourself right now, and I know we care about ourselves on a minimal level, but sometimes we don't see the impact we make when we step into the room or when we step into that group of people or we step into that arena. Do it for somebody else. Like I said, this is not the Benita Reed show. This is for us. This is for our children. This is for our community. That's everybody, Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, all the genders. So, because I don't have time for that. I'm doing this because God has called me to it.
Absolutely.
So God told me to love, not judge.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? So do it for somebody else. Stop doing it for somebody else. If you're hurting yourself, if you're avoiding, sometimes we can avoid, and that's harming us because we're denying that there's something we should be doing. Stop doing that. Confront things. I find that the enemy makes us believe that the problem is so magnified, like it's huge. And all you have to do is say, hey, I'd love to talk to you about this. I really want to talk. Let me talk to you. But I spoke to my opponent from last year because I want to work with him. It's bigger than me. It was bigger than my opponent from last year. And so when we got a chance to talk, we laughed and talked. We're both Christians.
Yeah.
We share the same values. We have the same ideas in mind in terms about best practices for our students. We have some of the same ideas in mind in terms of where we would like to see the district go. We have more in common than we don't. It was just that we were opponents, like we're on different sides. But the reality is, when God showed up, we saw that we're much more alike, and we can fight this battle against the enemy much greater than fighting each other.
That's funny, but it's dope and very true.
So what does that say? When you have a difference with somebody, approach it.
Right. Deal with it.
Deal with it now. Don't go to bed on it.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Reed.
Yeah, I got you thinking.
Okay,
now.
Dr. Reed.
I got you thinking now.
So we're gonna wrap this thing up. So I want you to tell them how they can reach you on social media. You know, give them your vote for me, play 6. Give them that again. You know what I'm saying? And I'll just close us out. I'll close us out. You know, just say my little old spiel. So go ahead.
So you can find me on IG at Dr. Benita Reed. That's DrBenitaReed. No spaces in between or anything. Just Dr. Benita Reed on IG. Dr. Reed for MISD on Facebook, Twitter. And then you can go to drreed.com, drreedformisd.com for my website. And the reason I mention my website, people can see credentials, my campaign bio, committees I'm on, all that good stuff. So they can see that I have been in education over 30 years, 20 years at TCC.
What's the website again?
The website is drbenitareedformisd.com.
Okay.
So go to the website so you can see. I love to have questions, and people want to ask questions. There are plenty of times when I leave here, I'm going block walk. Okay. So when people want to hear from me or see they need to call, they want me to call them, I call people back.
Okay.
Because I want you to feel comfortable voting and supporting me, voting for me, and then supporting me after you vote.
Absolutely.
You see, coming to the meetings, school board meetings, security, safety meetings, coming to the community conversations. So we have early voting. April 24th through May 2nd is early voting, and May 6th is election day. So I would love for you to go out and vote for Benita Reed for Mansfield ISD School Board Trustee Place 6. My name is first on the ballot. It's easy. You're going to see Benita Reed for Place 6. Click Benita Reed for Place 6, April 24th through May 2nd. And May 6th is election day. Let's come out and do this for our children. Do it for somebody else. If you're a taxpayer and you don't have any children, do it for my baby. I got parents across the street. They keep my baby all the time. They're voting for their grandkids and my baby. Do it for, I can't reduce taxes, but we can go and talk to the legislator about some things that we can do. Do it for the community. Because when we have strong schools, then our property value stays up. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't decrease. So let's make certain we do that. April 24th through May 2nd is early voting. May 6th is election day. Let's do this and make Benita Reed your next school board trustee for Mansfield ISD Place 6. And before we leave, I want to tell you one more thing. Thank you so much for this conversation.
Oh, man, it's all good. I appreciate you.
After everything is over, then I'm going to come back and I'm going to ask you a series of questions.
You can't just be going there and try to dictate. Yeah, that's fine. That's
okay,
cool.
Great. He said yes.
Okay, great.
I just need one yes.
You sound like Monica. Okay, great. That's what she be saying, crazy self. But anyway, listen. Thank you for watching the first episode of Cultivating Konversations with me, Anthony Moore. I am the curator of Cultivating Konversations for the Culture. This is the first episode. I want to thank my special guest, Dr. Benita Reed. Please go out and vote for her and check out. We'll have everything below on how to reach out to her. Last thing that I will say, everybody's living. So do me a favor. Please don't just live elevated. Until next week, I love you. May the Lord keep you. We'll see you later. Peace.